I'll start it one more time.
No. Okay.
You got something?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. And you've got me now waving my mouse over submit, so it's definitely the current stream?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Good, good, good. So yeah, we've got this basic form set up, so we're just going to take a look at the code now to see how we can transfer that over to the back end and then maybe onto a database if we get lucky. Cool. So again, it's literally just a basic React app, and I've put nothing inside the main app.js apart from a form. Okay, so looking inside the form, we can see our form's defined there. I've just given it a class name. I've given an onSubmit event so that when we hit that submit button, then we can handle it with an event handler.
Right on the form tab.
Yeah. Right on the form, yep. So all of the inputs will be submitted by that one submit button. Yep, so as you can see there, inputs themselves, they don't like you putting any text inside of here. If I save that, is it going to give me a warning? Oh, because I'm running it. Let me just kill that for a second. But anyway, yeah, they don't like putting new text inside the input, so I've just put it as a span outside for now, just to display something, right? It doesn't matter because the information itself is going to be coming from the input box, so it doesn't really matter how I input my text around it. The next step is to actually write our submit event. I don't need the async for now. I was going to write it in a different way. So yeah, I just want to get the actual values that have been inputted into the form. So if you noticed on the form, they've all got an ID. We've got an ID of form user, form email, form age, and form gender. So I can extract the value that the user puts into those by just using a document.getElementById, the correct ID, and then .value. And I've just stored them in variables inside my event. So that's just collecting the data from whatever the user's input. So we can test that now. There might have been a little one in there. No, okay, seems fine. So yeah, if we just put in a username of Davide, I don't know what your email is, Davide, but d@e.com, there we go. Nice and simple. Age, well, let's not be rude. So we say 30s, 40s, 21, there we go, look, 21. Gender, let's assume you're a male, right? And then submit. So if I click, actually I think I've got a console log, right? So let's have a look. I've got console log post body. So yeah, what I've done is when we hit that submit button, this event should trigger. We should store our user, our email, our age, and our gender into variables. Then I've also combined them all into one variable just for ease of use for when I do my post request. Yeah, so I've used object destructuring here. So user is set to user, age is set to age, and so forth. So in other words, when I console.log my post body, what should it look like? Will it be an array, an object? What will it contain? All those sorts of things. It's going to be an object, yeah. And it should have 4 properties, definitely. It should have property of... we haven't got there yet, Davide. So let's just stop at line 12. Yeah, an object with 4 properties, yeah, at this stage. So let's see whether that's worked, because if it doesn't, then we need to change something. Oh, I didn't have a console. Okay, I've typed class name wrong, but apart from that, we can see we've got an object here with user, age, email, and gender. So we've correctly created an object with the 4 properties that I want to send to the backend. Cool, step 1 done. And obviously if we then change this to Viv can also be 21, right? And then female. And if we submit that, then we see that correctly there we've got a different response body, yeah? Just to check that I hadn't hard-coded it anywhere, and you can see that it's definitely getting it from the form data.
Sorry, is age a number or a string?
Age is a number, so yeah, I can increase it like that. But yeah, when...
But they are all numbers.
That's a that string, right? That it shows that
Or is it because I put it in the object? Whoops.
I think we have all string we have from the form.
Yeah, I mean, eventually when we post it anyway, we want them all as strings, so yeah, it's not an issue. Good point, Viv. Yeah, whatever we put into a form will be then stored as a string, right? Yeah. Cool. That's why. Let me just change class name so we don't get that error. And now I'm gonna have to restart it again. Okay. Yep. So where were we? Let's put some data back in. We've stored that bit, that's cool. You can still be 21, right? And then, okay. Didn't mean to click that one, apologies. Okay, so what will happen next? So we've worked out that we're correctly assigning the post body. But then we want to send that data somewhere. So to do that, we've gently looked at the fetch API. We've looked at just the very, very basics of it. So we're going to use that again. And if you remember, the syntax for the fetch API is just you make your fetch call. So you type fetch, and then that takes some arguments. The first argument is the route or the path that we want to make our fetch request to or connect with. And this time we've used a method. Now previously, before, we've been using a GET request, yeah? But this time I want to use a POST request to actually send some data along. I want to send it as a JSON, to send it as an object. So in the header, you can determine a content type. And I guess when we want to send images, Walter, we're going to have to play around with this content type here to either have multi-part data or to have a different content type in there. But for now, we just want to send it as JSON, a plain old object. And then, yeah, we can also define a body section. So body just means the content, really, of the stuff that we want to send. And it's a good practice to call json.stringify on this so that it's easier to... So you've got your data in one format, and then the other end, it's easy to just pass it in a simple way, right? So therefore, that's why we're calling json.stringify. Yeah, so that's setting up the fetch. So where am I trying to send it to?
To my database.
Not a database yet. I'm trying to send it to an endpoint,
With my
which is REST store user. But with the post message, yeah. It's going to be app.post, indeed. Yep. So if we come onto the backend code, I've defined that in server. So we won't worry about the database stuff for now. Let's just get the data across first. So we can see that I am actually using body parser, Walter. But I think in modern Express, we don't need to use that. So I'm going to try and rewrite it. Yeah. But this was the old way of doing it, and I'll try rewriting it once we've got this way working and see if we definitely don't need it. I think it's being deprecated, so it's still supported at the moment, but in the future, yeah, it either won't be supported or it definitely won't be needed. Yeah.
It's like already included by Express.
Yeah, it's now become part of Express, or Express has got similar methods to handle it. So we'll try rewriting it in a second once we've gone through the steps and the logic, okay? So, yeah. So I'm just saying, use the body parser to essentially handle certain types of data, yeah? So whatever we've got sent over in the body parser is going to handle it and just get it into a format that we can readily use. So then someone correctly said we're not going to use app.get, we're going to use app.post. So for a post request that goes to this route, so these match up, right? REST store user on the server, and in the form we also had REST store user. So those must match. If those match, then we've got some sort of link going on there, and the data that's being passed in the body should be getting logged there in the body. Yeah, I'm just going to disable any database stuff for now so it doesn't prevent this happening. Cool. So all I want to do, if that data gets sent over, is just log it again. And where will that log appear? Will that appear in the browser or somewhere else? It will appear in the terminal, yeah, because it's a node environment, so it's not gonna, we're running the server in a node environment, so it should appear down here in my terminal. Let's test that. Sorry, wrong click again. Oh, I've lost my data again, but it's alright, Davide is still there. Never getting any older. Right, so the front end seems to be working. On the back end, oh, where is it? There. Yep, we've also got the body data has now been passed over, yeah? User Davide, age 21, email, blah, 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 blah. Yeah? Cool. So, those are the basic setups, obviously, to pass the data across. Obviously, I've done a few things in the background as well that you've done already on CodeFlix, right? We needed to make sure that we were running both servers together, the front end and the back end. So if I go to package.json, you can see that I've installed npm run all, and I've also got a proxy. Yeah. And then I've got a start all script down here that starts the front end and the back end in parallel. So that will enable us to make requests from one port and receive them on another, yeah? Any questions about that sort of general process of getting the data across from the front end to the back end? There's an error?
On YouTube.
Whereabouts?
Great, but in this moment we are getting data from the form and saving the JSON form or something.
So
Where
it's...
where is the storing data in this moment?
Where is the data going? To the database?
Well, so that's the next step. Once you've got it to the back end, you want to decide what you want to do with it, yeah?
No,
In this
but
moment,
here, in
yeah.
this example,
At the moment, it's just available
It's available
on the server.
In the server, yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I haven't assigned it to a variable, I haven't stored it in any way, but of course you could do that.
It's there.
Yep. But, you know, instead of just logging it, maybe we want to do something with it. Like if it's an object, we might just want to get part of that object, and then, you know, so all those things are possible once you've made that connection. What I want to do next is I just want to rewrite it without the body parser, if possible, and then we'll try sticking it in a database, if we can, yeah? Because then it will persist and we can do with it whatever we want. So I think in this, it now tells us how to do it without body parser, so let's just see if we can rewrite it.
Are you already sent you?
What's that?
If you want to render it on a page, you have to do res sender to the link of the page.
Yeah, if we want to then send something back, yeah, res.send.
Just to display on the browser instead of the console.
Yeah, yeah. So, for example, we could do... this is a object, right? So yeah, and then we could maybe just send back one part of it, right? We could do a res.send, and we could send to whatever page we wanted to, yeah? And we could send just maybe back the user, so just the username will get sent back rather than the whole object, for example. Sorry, one thing at a time. Let me just rewrite this first. Yeah, so since Express version 4.16, let's see what version I've got installed. What's it saying here? Yeah, so I've got 4.17, so we should be able to rewrite it in this way. Yeah, so rather than using bodyparser.url encoded, we can use express.url encoded. So I think it's the same format, but yeah.
You just need to change bodyparser for express, basically.
Yep, so that will get rid of obviously one dependency in my application as well, which is very nice. So we could do app.use express.url encoded. And app.use express.json, right? Oh, hold on. I did need that one. Yeah, thank you. So I should now be able to get rid of body parser. And hopefully.
Parsers one object saying extended false or something like that to the URL encoded.
Let's just leave it like that for now. Right, that looks the same, Yeah, so let's try just doing that again with some different data. Oh yeah, so this we've got a... Is that the error you meant in the for? Empty response. So that one's gone. And that one's gone. Yep. So no need to use body parser anymore. We can just write it like that. Cool. So should we see if we can put this information in a database? Okay. This is a dodgy thing to try live, but let's give it a go. So we want instead then, when we go to this root, then we want to connect to our database and insert something, right? So I'll leave that there. So I've already written a connect function for the database. So as a dependency, you need to install the MongoDB driver. And then you've got a client function or method on that as well. Yeah. The URL just set to whatever your database is. So I've just created one for this purpose called form demo. And really easy username and password, right? Just my name so I don't forget it. The database name should be called forms. So I don't know if you guys are using Compass yet to have a look at the databases, but yeah, it's just another graphical user interface to view your databases as opposed to Robo3T. It's up. I don't know. It's just maintained by. I'm not going to say what's better, but it's just maintained by MongoDB. Yeah. So. Walter says it's better, but so as long as you, yeah, okay. Maybe I should go through this step as well. So on Mongo, I don't know what it's called, but if I search that, we'll find it. And if you sign in on Mongo, that's not going to be it. It's going to be that one, hopefully. Cool. So any projects that you've created currently on Mongo should be listed here. So I'm just going to a certain project now. Yeah, so I've already created a form demo project. I've done that beforehand because it can take like 10-12 minutes sometimes to just create a cluster and stuff like that. For those that haven't done it in CodeFlix, there's a little connect button once you've created a project. And you can get this thing here called an SRV string. and that's the URL or some sort of identifier that Mongo uses to connect to your database. Yeah, your Node application will use to connect to your database. So what you can do with Atlas, rather than not with Atlas, with Compass, rather than using all the filling out all the form details for Compass, then you can, it just does that, right? MongoDB connection string detected. Great, yeah, let's use it. And then it just fills in everything you need to fill in to connect to the database. So that's really handy.
Including the host name, yeah?
Including the host name, yeah. So people often get confused about what's the host name, do I need test on it, do I need rewrite true, all that sort of stuff.
Because the other day I was desperately looking for the host name. Eventually I found it, but you have to go under metrics but anyway, it took me a good half an hour.
Yeah. So I think Compass just simplifies that process, and it's filled in now everything. I mean, do I need SSL? I guess so, yeah, because it's with the SRV, but it's done that for me, right? So I don't need to worry about that. SSH tunnel, dunno, just, it's smart, right? And the only thing it doesn't fill in is your password. So if I tried to connect now, it just highlight the password in red. So I of course need to just type that in. That's just an internal thing, don't worry about that. That's my system trying to store the password. And you can see that just by copying that string from your application that's already set up, your project that's set up, Compass has managed to connect to that database. So by default, it should have a couple of databases in it. It will have an admin and a local. Sometimes you'll get a test as well, depending on how you've set things up. And then I just created a new one called Forms, a new database called Forms. So if I click on that, I can see that I've already created a collection called Users. And inside of that, so this was what I was just doing just to test that it was working. So I just created a user called Hello. So every time I've been running the command, it's just added a new user called Hello, which is pointless, but for the purpose of this demo, at least we can see something's happening. So instead of creating that user Hello, let's actually create our Davide or our Viv user instead. That's the idea, right? So back in our application, I think my server might have gone down, but I can rerun it if not. But back in my application, we can see in my database file that essentially I've written a connect function, right? And this is just taken straight from your CodeFlix project. You won't need to change it in any way. It's just a function that connects to our database based on the URL that we've just found on Atlas, the connect URL. And that will effectively create a new promise and keep the connection open for as long as we need it. So back into server, we can see that we call the connect function that we've imported, and then we want to do something with this database object that gets returned. So this database object, just think of it as the current database that's being used by Mongo. So in our case, it's going to be forms,
Is that the cursor you mentioned the other day? Or?
Not yet, no. So the cursor is something that is returned after we do a query to the database. At this stage, we haven't made any queries to the database. We're just opened a connection between it. It's just. Cool. So once we've connected, what do we want to do? Well, we want to do something like use our database object, and there's a method called collection, which will find a current collection. And in my case, I called it users, right? We saw that in the previous screen. I've got too many things open. Form.users, forms.users. So we're already in forms. The database object should have returned forms. And then we just want to connect to the users collection. And we can do that by doing collection users. Don't think I missed anything. Nope. And then we want to insert. So insert again is another method. If you need to see the syntax of it, again, you can just go to MongoDB docs, insert. I should have probably clicked on the one below it, but you can see the syntax here, right? db.collection, so you've got insert one to insert a single document into a collection, or insert many, right, for many documents. So in this case, we've only got one object, so we might as well just use insert one. And then what do we want to insert? Well, we want to insert the body that has just got passed over from the front end. So rec dot body. Do we need to do anything else? Let's try it, see what happens. I think my server went down previously, so I'm just gonna kill it and then start it again. Oh, no, so what have I done? There was definitely an error, right? So there's obviously something I've done wrong, but let's do it step by step and see where that error lies. I don't know why I called you 32, Davide. Sorry, let's go back to 21, right? It was just random. So internal server error. So there's definitely something wrong on form.js restore user. That looks like a front end error though, right? Oh no. So server.js has got a syntax error. So I haven't closed my function, right? So that belongs to that one. And then I need to also close the whole thing. DB is not defined. It's because I commented it out. Okay. Looking better. Looking better. Alright.
So it wasn't me.
Hmm?
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you, Davide. I'm using your name in vain, but it's not your fault that it didn't work. Yep, so let's still complain about body parser. Oh, I didn't kill it. So let's just... One of those terminal commands that I like using is pkill for process kill. So Vilius mentioned yesterday about getting the process ID first and then killing it based on the ID number. Pkill itself works based on a name. So if you know the name of the program you want to kill, such as node, then you can just kill all instances of node. Or, yep, you're quite right. If you want to make sure you've got no instances of Mongo running, then you can do MongoD as well. I think it works for Mac as well, but it doesn't work on Windows. Oh, kill all for Mac, is it? Oh, right, yeah, okay. Maybe, yeah.
We use
Yeah, so Mac users we've got in the room that use pkill as well. I don't know the equivalent command on Windows at the moment. Sorry, I can maybe look up. Right, anyway, let's try once more. No errors I saw in there this time. Let's just get rid of a few of these that are no longer needed. Come on, Davide, fingers crossed. Cool, so no errors being thrown there. So we can look, see if there's any errors thrown there. It looks like it got across, so did it go to the database is the final question. So it won't be there yet, but if I click on, is this the one?
Refresh.
Where is refresh?
Up on the left. 3dbs on the left.
Oh, just here? No, nothing there, right?
Should be. And then you need to probably...
Oh yeah, there it is. Davide is there. sir.
This is a big moment.
And then, of course, if we wanted to have any other data, let's just quickly test that. Again, there wasn't something weird with Davides. He's special in that way. He's the only one allowed to the database. So again, let's try it with some different values. Completely different. You can go even younger, Viv. Okay, looks like it's all worked there. If we refresh again, might take a little while, I guess. Seemed to take a little while before. There she is, yeah. And there's Viv as well. So we could click on that ID. And then we could inspect it a bit more if we wanted to, right? But that's definitely the data we entered. I seem to be unable to zoom on this view. Let's have a, oh, there we go. Zoom in. It's just a different command. What is it? Control plus shift equal. Control shift equal. There we go. Yep. Cool. And then obviously once it's stored in there, then you can retrieve it in the same way that you did with CodeFlix, right? So then we do a request maybe to a different route. So we could set up a different route. I probably won't go through the whole process now if that's all right, guys, because it's getting on a bit. But we could have, rather than a app.post, we could then create another app.get. And we could call it REST and then maybe retrieve user data or something like that, right? Yeah, and then in there it's the usual way that we've been doing. Sorry, we need a function, right? So we've got two options. So again, we can write a function. Request.response. Yep.
Outside the function, inside the
What's that?
retrieve the user data.
Oh, this one, yeah, don't need that one. Yeah, so app.get with two arguments again, the path and the function. Yeah, and then inside of the function, that's where we're going to make another call to the database. Again, we can combine these calls, but you can do something like this. This would still work. So again, connect to the database, go to users, and this time rather than insert one, we're probably going to use find, right? And then if we had a filter in here just to retrieve all of them. What's that? No, I didn't hear the question, Walter.
I was saying that you have to filter maybe by the name or something like request or phone.
Okay, if you wanted to filter by...
If I want all of them,
Yeah, if you want just all of the records, then just find an empty object. If you wanted a certain filter, I think my server's gone down again. Yeah, we could do find one, or we could just do find all users perhaps with a name of Viv, which is in this case going to give one as well. And then we want to do something with that. Then yeah, then we can request response to the request. So we're going to connect. Is it in there? Do we click and there's dot send. So we could call that. Let's just give it a name of user, right? For now, doesn't really matter. So user is going to be a result of calling the database, and then res.send. True, yeah, because that could take some time. No, there, right? Let's await there, right? Oh no, hold on. Because that's that function, and then, oh, await DB connect.
Oh,
Then
Video collections.
Because that's a function as well.
Now, how many blocking events do you have here? So to connect takes time, so that's a wait. To find something in the
also-
database will take some time, so another wait.
DBO, that is gonna take time.
Yeah, so it's in front of DBO. Await. No, I think before equal sign.
Because it's a function. If you want to use await, you need to put async in the function, not before.
So I mean that's the async one, right? And that's the await bit.
No.
No?
In front of DBO. Variables are not awaiting or async.
True.
Same line, just
Here.
wait. And yeah, once it's resolved, it can send because the data is already in promise is resolved.
And then obviously the next step is to come back to your front end. And then, I don't know, we're going to have like another button, right, to say get user data. And then we'll write another function. This time it will handle get data or something. Have another fetch to not that endpoint, but this endpoint. Yeah, I'm not going to do it now, but I'm happy to keep working on it, like for the next few minutes or tonight, and then share it with everyone. Or as a task, you can finish it off perhaps, because you've got this part of the simulation in CodeFlix, right? The retrieving information from a database and then displaying it in your app. So you should have a model to copy that from. The model that we didn't have was sending some data to the server, using that server data, and then inserting it into a database, right? So we've done that part at least. So that's really what I wanted to cover today. Has that been helpful? I hope it has. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry it didn't come earlier, but
One quick question, exactly where you are now.
yeah.
You connect to the database, it picks up, it preserves information into it. Why didn't you close it? Or it doesn't now,
What, db.close? So if I did want to close it, then probably I would do it here in my connect function, right? I'd just have a last line here saying, yeah, once my queries are being resolved, then close it. But yeah, for now, yeah, I think because I was copying an example where we'd probably just have one connection and then do all of our routes and handling inside of that one connection, then we'd leave it open for the duration of all the connections. But yeah, you could obviously call dbo.close as well. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'm going to leave that there unless there's any other quick questions on the post part.
We don't have to put inside the full method post. We do inside the function, not the fetch method post.
Inside the fetch, we had to have a method post, yep. So if I come back to...
You put method, you write methods, the method action or method post inside the form.
So what we've done is we've created an onSubmit handler, but we've created our own custom submit handler. So if you notice the first line, I didn't mention it, but the first line I've got event.prevent default. So I've stopped the automatic submission, and I've said instead of doing the normal submit event, do my submit event. Yeah, do all of this stuff. and run a fetch. So sorry, that's quite an important step I missed.
Inside the function.
And then inside of the fetch, we've got method post, so that we're doing a post event there. Sorry, a post request there. Yeah, but that's important. Without that event.prevent default, then the data would just get lost. I think it would try and send it somewhere, and nothing's set up to catch it.
Submit format. If I'm wrong, right? Submit like form once you click a button, it should send to whichever endpoint is defined. And
But we haven't defined that endpoint.
inside the form, I don't know.
No.
It's not necessarily because
So if you had an action, you mean,
Action,
like action, blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But I wanted to specify it all within my fetch, right? So that's why I did it there.
And in this case, you can put everything together.
Yeah, to me it makes more sense, right? I know exactly where it's coming from. I haven't got something in the form. I haven't got something in my event handler. It's just all together in my event handler.
I have a question. When you call dbconnect,
dbo.connect, yeah.
that .connect is a method of
Yeah,
what?
that's a method of
Express.
of the Mongo client, the Mongo driver.
Okay. And the other thing that I found that dot find.
Well, in fact, sorry, no, that's rubbish, right? The connect we've defined the connect.
Right.
Yeah, so we've defined the connect in database.js.
Okay.
We've defined a function, and that function in turn, yes, is using the connect method of the Mongo driver. So yeah, the Mongo driver has its own connect method, but we've done something slightly different with that. So we've just wrapped it in a promise. That's all we've done effectively.
Yeah. You are returning a promise.
Yeah, and then it's that method that we're invoking here, because we've exported that into our server, and then we can call db.connect, which will go and find the connect function and run all of that to open the connection. Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously if you created a slightly different connect function, then the logic's going to be slightly different, but the principle is going to be the same, right? We need to initiate a connection using the Mongo driver's connect method. Cool.
Thanks. And last thing is,
Yep.
You know that dot find in the DBO collection, they say find div, for example.
Yes.
Is it right to say that find is not JavaScript find but a Mongo find?
Yes. So
Because basically the Mongo find is like a query method, whereas the Java find, guys, is that they find what we've seen so far.
very, very true. So our database object is inheriting Mongo's methods. Yeah. So if we're chaining anything onto DBO, collection obviously it's nothing to do with JavaScript, right? There's no collection method. It's a method of Mongo, and find itself, because it's chained onto the same database object, is not the JavaScript find. It is Mongo's find, which if you went to the documentation, well, it's going to be quicker just to Google search it, I think. So MongoDB find method. Yeah, db.collection.find. Yeah, so it's a good point. Yeah, don't confuse the two. They're doing different things. This find takes an object as its parameter, and that object is a query object. Yeah. So the syntax is listed here. It takes a field, which in my case I used user, which is the name of whatever the user was. So I used user and then viv, the string viv, to search for users with the user field value of viv. Yeah, and then in our database, I think we had one of those, hopefully.
For example, in this case, you can find.
Yeah.
Find,
So that's what it's searching for, right? User viv.
Find
If we have to dive with that, for example, we will find.
Yes.
Yeah.
It would find both of them. Yeah. If you use find one method of Mongo, it will just find the first one it comes to. Yeah. All right.
And yes, for this reason you could find without anything at the beginning. From all the lists that
Okay, I'm gonna stop it there.